Hey guys, I'm back with a more modern review because, the arrow video thing, I think I have to concede defeat on. It's not quite working. So, let's talk about a modern movie. In this case, let's talk about a movie you can see on screen at the moment. You can't see my face. Nicole Kidman's starring movie that's just released. Maybe you've already seen it, maybe you haven't. Maybe it's been out for months in America. I don't know. I don't really care. I just saw it in UK and it's definitely a movie. I think they advertise it's like an erotic thriller with the ambiguity of consent and the ways that people obviously find attraction, power dynamics and things like that. That's what they advertise it as anyway. It's kind of that, kind of, sort of, but also it's kind of like an exploration of female sexuality and also kind of a tiny bit about cuckolding and, self-loathing, I guess, and wanting to destroy your life using whatever means you can find. And there's also bits and pieces where it's like, it might be related to her upbringing because she is raised in communes and cults. And and it's sort of about all of those things, but not really about any of them. And it also has a very, very, very unlikable and unrelatable main character. And the guy in question, Samuel, so Nicole Kidman plays Romy and Samuel's played by Harris Dickinson. And I'm not going to attack him or his performance because, that's what they decided should be in the movie. But what I will say is that, one, I don't think any of the takes in the movie the best takes that he gave them. And two, I don't really understand his character in the slightest. I mean, I don't really understand her character in the slightest either, because again, she's not likable in the slightest, and she's not relatable. And I know what you're thinking, Ian, but there's been movies like this that have come out over decades. You had Unfaithful for Diane Lane, and to that I'd go, yes, you have Unfaithful for Diane Lane, and Oliver Martinez and Richard Gere. Oliver Martinez obviously played the guy that she had the affair with, but here's the difference. Not that you condone it, but there was charm at the start with his character. The guy in this movie, I'm not going to speak ill of him in other things. Maybe he does have charming of performances, but he's charmless, and you're just watching it thinking, wait, are we meant to understand why she's doing this? I mean, don't get me wrong, self-destructiveness can be a powerful form in terms of narrative for a movie, but at the same time, it's a difficult thing to watch because it doesn't really work as like a character exploration, because we only get the surface of her character and his character, and to be honest, his character is a bit of a prick. In terms of at no point do you go I understand, I don't condone, I get it. But no. But then again, same thing's true of her character, where she's just staggeringly unlikable for the whole thing, and we're meant to sympathise with her, and it's no, we don't in the slightest. I think the other thing also is that it's trying to be an adult movie of adult themes and adult sequences and that sort of thing. But I'll be honest, I just was watching this and I just found it a very cold, detached experience where I think they didn't. I think it's some parts of it are brave, and I got to give credit to Nicole Kidman. I think it's a great performance. It's just I just don't feel any sympathy for the character whatsoever, and maybe that's the point. But it wasn't good enough for that to be the point. You know what I'm saying? Where it's sort of you can have a movie like Unfaithful where Diane's character has the affair and it's not sympathetic in the slightest. She doesn't have bad life and all of that. In this movie, I mean, central thesis of it this is sort of a spoiler, who cares, where the gist of why she has the affair is her husband, played by Antonio Banderas, who is one of the few likable characters in the movie, she says to him at one point, "You've never given me an orgasm." And no, I'm not. I'm sure that's absolutely something that happens a lot, and I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who are very, very upset that they've never experienced that with their partner, and they feel dissatisfied by it. And I'm sure there's reasons why they won't say anything, and they're complete valid. But at the same time, when you have a movie, and your problem in the movie, as it is in this movie, can be easily resolved by having a conversation, and you do not have that conversation. Again, I'm not talking about real life, I'm talking about movies. Your movie has a fundamental flaw of your main character is an idiot. In this movie, that's the case. She's not, it doesn't work. it doesn't feel in slightest like a narrative conclusion when you get to the end. It just feels like you could have had this conversation 2 hours and 10 minutes ago. And I don't know. I thought, I don't like this. I didn't like this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I mean, I don't think it's a good one, but I think it's competently made and all of that. It's just, I got to the end and I was like, that's it. That's the whole thing. So I'd have to go for 2 out of 5. I was not impressed by this. Saturday Night, amazing. In fact, I'll be talking about that next, but this, nah, I wasn't feeling this. And now on to my opinion. I know it came out last year in America, but it came out this year in England. And my opinion, this Saturday Night is the best goddamn movie I've seen so far this year. And you can say it's only been a few weeks and it came out last year, whatever. I don't care. I loved it. I loved it in every way. I didn't like watching the Nicole Kidman one. And I think the main reason I really liked it is it feels like you're seeing a moment in history. Now, I should back up and say one of my favourite genres of movie is the behind scenes sort of like investigation staging, I suppose you say, like a play or TV show. I'm a huge fan of Late Night with the Devil. I love other movies like that. I love Ghostwatch. I love WNUF Halloween. And I love this one. I mean, I'm also a big fan of Muppets, that is. And yes, I know this movie isn't historically accurate. I actually do my research, people. It's a very loose interpretation of what went on that evening. In some ways, it feels very much like a movie Saturday Night Live would make about the opening of Saturday Night Live, the opening night. But it's great. It's so good. It's so well acted. It's so fun. It's so cool. It's so sharp. It's so dynamic. It has life to it. It has personality to it. It feels like you're there. It feels like you're on tour of the set. Obviously, again, it's mostly bollocks in terms of historical accuracy, but it feels lived in. It feels accurate. It feels cool. The way it's shot particularly, it feels like you're a fly on wall of something which may or may not have actually happened that way. Probably didn't. But I think that's my favourite part of it. Every second you're watching the movie, every time it goes down the hallway, you see things in the background, you see characters, you see situations, you see dynamics, you see everything feels fully fleshed out in ways that you don't normally get in these sort of movies. And I didn't get from the Nicole Kidman movie. But in this one, I definitely got the vibe of it feeling like an actual real universe, an actual real scenario, an actual real setting, actual real people doing actual real things, which makes sense to them. I can't stand movies where characterization doesn't make any goddamn sense. And this one, it felt like everything was lived in, which is great. I mean, it's one of my favourite things about cinema or TV, when you find something and you think like, man, you've invested into this. It feels genuine. And this is definitely a genuine movie. I should also add, and I'm a huge fan of Saturday Night Live. I'll hold no bones about that. I think for the talent it's created, it's pushed to mainstream alone, it's one of the greatest TV shows of all time. And I think this is just like, it's proper acting, it's proper writing, it's just fucking on point in every regard. It's also really, really, really funny. And I know lots of people don't like Jim Henson stuff because we live in a day and age where people they did this Bruce Lee too. And I don't, in Once Upon a Time Hollywood, I don't understand it. It's sort of like, what? These aren't the actual people on screen. These are caricatures. These are representations of them. You know, filtered through perspective and bias, the same way your perspective and bias tells you that Jim Henson was the nicest man who ever existed, despite the fact that no, very few of those people have actually ever met the man and only know of him post his death. You know, this is not Jim Henson as he actually was on screen. This is Jim Henson as part of a character, same way that William Shakespeare write about historical people who had nothing in common with representations he put in plays. Not real people. It's just fun. It's just silly. It's just a way to have some jokes in there, to have some light mocking of something which is actually, to be honest, somewhat based in reality, because they didn't want to write for the Muppets. But I just think the whole thing, nothing about it seems mean-spirited. It's just a madcap. It's basically, this is the equivalent. You could make this almost the exact same movie with Muppets, and people would go like, oh yeah, I get it now. It's Saturday Night Live has always had the aesthetic of being, and it's probably why Jim Henson created Muppet Show, because Saturday Night Live is exactly like that. It's always been manic, it's always been chaotic, it's always been ridiculous, but It's always had some magic to it, and I think this movie has magic to it. And it's also great to see Jason Reitman have Ghostbusters again. Don't get me wrong, I like the two Ghostbusters movies, but this is just like, this is proper. This is a proper movie. It won't be for everyone's taste, but for my money, like, when it hit the end, and it hit the Saturday Night Live music, I was like, yeah, I'm good for this. It's also a great companion piece to Futile and Stupid Gesture, which is an amazing movie about the history of National Lampoon, and one of their co-creators, Doug Kenny, which has scenes set during the early time of Saturday Night Live, and sort of it offers a bit of a contrast to it, but they're both great. They're both, for my money, 5 out of 5 movies, so definitely watch Saturday Night if you can.